You want to know an easy way to see if a lot of love went into a game? Look at the idle animations. What is an idle animation, you might be asking? Well, Google it. I'm not your dad. Okay, fine. Idle animations are animations that play when you don't push anything on your controller. If you have to leave a game running without pressing anything for a while, you're probably going to have the game paused. You typically don't see idle animations if you pause the game. As a result, idle animations are something that a lot of people probably aren't going to see. This is what makes idle animations so awesome to me. There's something that's essentially useless. There's no gameplay benefit to idle animations, and most people aren't going to see them. So when devs go through the effort of adding a really fun idle animation, it always brings a smile to my face. Idle animations have been around for a long time, but they really started to get popular in the mid to late 90s. Earlier game consoles had less storage capacity to hold data for animations, so it wasn't practical to waste a ton of space for a pretty useless animation. Though, some games did try. The 1987 game Mega Man on the NES had a pretty simple idle animation where Mega Man would blink his eyes. It's nothing spectacular, of course, but it does at least help a bit at making the characters seem alive. This idle animation is very basic, however, it helped set the stage for more idle animations in the future. In 1991, Sonic the Hedgehog was released, and he had an idle animation where he would impatiently tap his foot and look at the player. This was a really cool way to showcase a bit of Sonic's personality. He's fast, he's impatient, and he's got a little attitude. Awesome stuff. But this animation got even better in Sonic CD, released in 1993. The idle animation is basically the same, but after about 3 minutes of not doing anything, Sonic will say,
"I'm out of here!"
and jump off the screen, resulting in an instant game over. In Sonic's mind, if you take too long to play the game, then you don't deserve to play the game. Idle animations are a great way to show off the identity of the person you're playing as. In 1994's The Lion King game, Simba's idle animation is already well animated with these super smooth tail movements, but if you wait for a while, you'll see him react to the butterflies flying near him. He looks so happy. Eventually he'll get low and pounce on a butterfly, but of course he's a good kid, so he lets the butterfly go. Simba is a lion cub here, and these idle animations do a great job of showcasing Simba's childlike innocence. The same year that The Lion King came out, Earthworm Jim was released, and this game has a ton of goofy idle animations. The funniest ones are probably Jim playing jump rope with his own head, Jim singing a tune, and Jim blasting himself in the face. These animations just help give the game so much charm. I feel like it was around this era that idle animation started to really pick up. I think the reason for this increase in funny and engaging idle animations is because gaming started to become a lot more about branding. Video game companies didn't just want to make hit video games anymore. They wanted to make iconic characters that people could latch onto. They wanted to make mascots. These animations are great, but if we want to see fantastic idle animations, then we gotta move away from the home consoles and over to the arcades. Because man, did arcade games have some banger idle animations. In the same year that Earthworm Jim and Lion King came out, 1994's X-Men Children of the Atom came out. And man, every character is animated in outstanding fluidity. Wolverine is hunched over like he's ready to pounce, and as he's bobbing back and forth, you can see each of his claws move. Despite the fact that Cyclops is standing in the exact same spot without much overt motion throughout the entirety of his idle animation, you can see the subtle movements of Cyclops' chest, arms, and thighs as he breathes in and out. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have Spiral, whose entire body is constantly moving. She's bouncing up and down on one foot, and meanwhile she's got her 6 arms, with each one twisting and turning in a grotesquely mesmerizing way. Capcom didn't just cook when they were making these animations, they were roasting, scorching, burning, going crazy. And they weren't even finished yet, because a few years later, they started the Street Fighter III series, which began in 1997. Ryu's idle animation is incredibly simple. It's just him bouncing up and down on his heels, but there's so much detail in the way his clothes move. You can see the ends of his torn off sleeves, his belt, and his pants legs flap as he bounces. His clothes really look like they have their own sense of weight to them, which just helps the whole thing feel alive. Compare his Street Fighter 3 animation to his Street Fighter 2 animation. The one from Street Fighter 2 is decent, but there isn't a ton of motion in the clothes. You can see the belt move a bit, but for the most part, the clothes seem almost like they're stuck to Ryu. The movements of Ryu's outfit are so much bouncier and full of life in Street Fighter 3. But hey, that's the difference that 6 years of improving animation makes. But that's enough about 2D animation. In the mid to late 90s, there was a boom in the 3D gaming space, thus giving idle animations a whole new dimension to play with. Crash Bandicoot is one of the early 3D game series that I immediately think of when talking about idle animations. Crash has several different idle animations in 1998's Crash Bandicoot 3, from scratching his head, to a really entertaining little dance, to him playing with a yo-yo. At one point while playing with the yo-yo, he ends up tying himself up, which is pretty funny. That same year, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was released. Ocarina of Time gave Link several different idle animations, like tapping his boots on the ground and playing around with his sword, but the most interesting thing it did was give Link unique animations depending on the temperature of the place he was in. If it's warm where he's at, Link will wipe sweat from his face, and if it's cold, Link will start shivering and even sneeze. I'm a really big fan of situational idle animations like these. They really help to make your character appear to be a part of the world, you know? Another early 3D game with fun idle animations is Banjo Kazooie. The neat thing about this game is that you control two characters working together, so with some of the idle animations, you get to see the two characters, Banjo and Kazooie, interact. Kazooie will peck Banjo in the head only for him to fail at grabbing her in retaliation, but in one of the idle animations, he actually does manage to grab her after she pecks him, and he gets some sweet revenge. As time went on and 3D game technology improved, we saw a lot of really complex idle animations come about, like the idle animations in 2002's Jet Set Radio Future. Idle animations are usually characters standing in one place, maybe bobbing up and down a bit, but in Jet Set Radio Future, the idle animations are characters breaking down the sickest dance moves. Not only are these some of the smoothest and intricate idle animations I've ever seen, but these animations completely fit with the game's emphasis on music. I could probably spend all day talking about cool idle animations. Mario has quite a few idle animations in 2017's Super Mario Odyssey. Like Ocarina of Time, Mario has context-sensitive idle animations based on things like the temperature. But the really cool thing is that by wearing weather-appropriate outfits like boxer shorts on the beach or a snowsuit in the cold, Mario will be just fine. Another really cool idle animation comes from Persona 3. The idle animation itself isn't particularly impressive, but what I like about it is that the protagonist puts his hands in his pockets. And if you start moving after he does this, he actually keeps his hands in his pockets while running around, unlike his normal walking animation where his arms are moving. I just find it neat that the idle animation actually affects other animations. Speaking of idle animations that actually affect things, let's talk about Link again, but this time we're going to take a look at his appearances in the Super Smash Bros. Series. When Link is idling, he has his shield up. Now, most people would assume that this is just a part of the animation and it doesn't do anything, but the interesting thing about this animation is that the shield can actually do something. It blocks projectiles. So there actually is some gameplay benefit to just standing still and doing nothing here. Another character with a gameplay benefit to their idle animation is G from Street Fighter V. If you stand still for about a minute while playing as G, he will play this animation where he strikes a pose. The pose actually deals a ton of damage, taking away about half of your opponent's health bar. Obviously, this move would never work in an actual fight unless your opponent just walked away from the game or something, so it's really just a fun little Easter egg. If you all know of any other really cool or unique idle animations, please let me know in the comments. I have a whole playlist of videos similar to this one if you're looking for something else to watch. If that doesn't interest you, then maybe this video might. That's all I've got to talk about for today though, so thanks for watching y'all, and have a great rest of your day.